Ousmane Kromah, perhaps Florida State's top target at running back this recruiting cycle, but can they keep him away from Kirby Smart and UGA? He's a four-star running back out of Lee County, Georgia, a top 10 running back in the country. The composite ranking is a little higher on him. They have him ranked as a number 4 running back and a top 80 overall player. This has no doubt become a 3-team race between Florida State, Georgia, and Auburn. Due to PTSD, I know the last time it was a Florida State, Georgia, Auburn battle, it didn't quite go our way. But I think the momentum has shifted back and forth quite a bit here, and I think it still has a little bit of drama left. Miami has made a push there as well, but luckily I don't think this is recruitment based purely on NIL. I think Kromah is strictly looking for a home, somewhere that he feels comfortable and will prepare for the NFL, which is why I think it's evened out between these 3 teams. Now, zooming out a little bit, Florida State has actually done a good job of recruiting running backs and done an even better job developing. You guys may remember, even back at Memphis, Mike Norvell had 2 NFL running backs on that roster with Tony Pollard and Kenneth Gainwell. Now, at Florida State, he sent 2 more running backs to the NFL with Ja'Shawn Corbin at the Giants and then Trey Benson, who was taken last April to the Arizona Cardinals. Now, they've helped bolster that room through the transfer portal with guys like Keziah Holmes or Roydell Williams, but the guys they recruited out of high school last cycle were really good as well. Cam Davis, a guy who committed to Florida State very early on, was a 5-star at the time, but of course, like all players who commit to Florida State, it seems, he slid in the rankings down to a 4-star. But Cam was a guy that every other program, specifically UGA, was after as well, and Florida State was able to keep him committed and sign him last December. Side note, I do expect big things out of Cam in his Florida State career. But all this to say is, for one, Florida State has battled Georgia for running backs before and been able to land them. 2, if Kromah is looking for a resume of developing running backs and putting them in the NFL, Florida State certainly checks those boxes. Now, make no mistake, Ousmane is an elite talent. He's got great size, coming out around 6 foot, about 210 pounds, and apparently has a 6'9" wingspan, which for a running back is pretty crazy, and I think kind of alludes to his pass catching ability, which would do crazy numbers in a Mike Norvell offense. He's also a talented basketball player, so a tremendous athlete all around, and, obviously he's a top 10 running back for a reason. And I think this is a really important recruitment for Florida State. The staff has clearly sunk their teeth into this one, and he's definitely a top priority for the Noles. Now, Georgia's going to be tough to beat, and I know all you guys are going to comment about how you're not holding your breath against UGA, or I love the ones that say that they won't care about recruiting until signing day, and I understand that sentiment, and I'm not holding my breath here either necessarily. But as fans, we can claim we hate recruiting as much as we want, but we're always going to keep up with it as much as it drives us absolutely crazy at times. Now, he did just take his official visit this past weekend to Florida State and raved a ton about it in this post-visit interview. And it sounds like the staff definitely showed him everything they needed to show him. It's definitely good to get him back on campus. He was at Auburn last weekend, and now Georgia will get his last OV. And honestly, I don't love that, but we'll just have to see how it goes. Luckily, he said he's likely not making a decision until sometime in the fall, and I'm sure Florida State is also looking to get him back on campus for a game or 2 in season. I do think Florida State's product on the field in 2024 will have an impact, of course. If they go out and have another good season after losing so much production, I think it'll only further prove the development aspect and help build the hype. So this recruitment specifically will probably be a lot more so a waiting game, and it'll definitely be a battle to the end. Now, worst case, if Florida State is not able to pull it off, they do have the numbers there to make running back not too much of a concern for this cycle. Obviously, you want a top running back, but just not a huge deal if you don't load up in 2025, in my opinion. Some of the targets they're in on is 4-star Byron Louie out of American Heritage, who, after talking with some people, they actually prefer Byron and think that his style of play fits better than Kromah's. Now, total disclosure, personally, I'm all in on Kromah. Despite his injury concerns, I think he's the best back on the board right now. But again, I also really like Louie's game as well, and I won't be upset if they have to pivot to him as the top running back in the class. Now, I know Auburn's getting a lot of buzz here in the last day or so as well, but I think they actually end up flipping Alvin Henderson from Penn State and signing him, and at that point, I think Kromah becomes a 2-team battle with UGA and Florida State. And I think Florida State has a slight edge right now, if I'm being honest. Again, it's going to be tough to hold on. Like I said, Georgia gets the last official visit for him, so we'll just have to see how that one goes. And I think after that point, we'll know kind of how this one is trending as we get deeper into the cycle. But recruiting is definitely heating up, guys. We're getting into the thick of some of these big recruiting stories for the cycle, and definitely looking and hoping for Florida State to be on the right side of a lot of these. We appreciate you guys tuning in and talking some Florida State recruiting. As we get deeper into the cycle, of course, there's going to be a lot more of these kinds of updates, so definitely want to make sure you hit that subscribe button to keep up with all the recruiting buzz. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Go Noles.